All right, so you're ready for launch.
Ready to launch.
You got that business idea.
It's validated.
You've dipped your toes in the water.
Tested it out.
And now it's time to dive into the deep end. Full-scale launch.
It is an exciting time.
It is daunting. Yeah.
But exciting.
We're going to unpack how some major players scaled up,
Yes.
turning those initial sparks of brilliance into those roaring successes.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the transition.
Okay.
From minimum viable product,
Yeah.
that bare bones version,
Right.
to a full-fledged product.
Right.
What can we learn from the big players?
Well, I think a really good example is Dropbox.
Okay.
They started with a simple video,
Yeah.
not even a functional product.
I remember that it was basically like a demo, right?
Yeah, a demo showing how Dropbox would work if it actually existed.
It was a pretty gutsy move.
It was a gutsy move, but that's the beauty of an MVP, right?
Yeah.
You're testing the waters, you're gauging interest with minimal investment. And in Dropbox's case, it proved that there was a real hunger for what they were offering.
So they didn't waste time building something that nobody wanted.
Exactly.
They got that validation up front.
Yes. And once they saw that demand, they could confidently build out features,
Right.
all the while incorporating user feedback.
Okay.
That iterative process is pure gold,
Yeah.
especially for digital products.
Makes sense. You're constantly adapting and refining,
Yes,
making sure you're building something people actually want to use.
exactly.
Okay, so Dropbox nailed the whole feedback loop.
They did.
But knowing where to focus that growth,
Right.
that's another piece of the puzzle.
It is. And I think this is where Airbnb's early strategy really shines.
Yeah.
Because instead of trying to be everything to everyone,
Right.
they laser focused on a specific niche. Conference attendees needing a place to stay.
Interesting. So they found a problem within a very specific market and solved it.
They did, and that's the power of starting small.
Yep.
By mastering that niche, Airbnb built a solid foundation and reduced their risk.
Okay.
And then they could use that success as a springboard to expand to other traveler segments.
Kind of like proving the concept before going global
Yes,
creates a blueprint for expansion.
it does. Allows them to hone their platform,
Yeah.
hone their processes, build a loyal user base before scaling up to the travel behemoth they are today.
Okay, so you've got a product, you're finding your footing.
Right.
But how do you actually accelerate growth?
Right.
How do you turn those early adopters into a growth engine?
So now we're talking about turning those users into evangelists.
Right.
And no one did this better in the early days than PayPal.
Didn't they like pay people to join?
They did. It was a bold move.
Yeah.
Offering cash bonuses for signing up and even more for referring friends.
Like actual cash.
Actual cash.
Not discounts or credits, but cold, hard cash.
They were giving away money.
That's a pretty expensive way to acquire users.
It might sound counterintuitive, but it was genius on several levels.
Uh-huh.
First, it embodied their core value proposition. Easy online payments.
Okay.
They were literally putting money in their users' hands.
So they were practicing what they preached,
Exactly.
building that trust right off the bat.
Yes, and second, it tapped into the power of word-of-mouth marketing.
Oh, okay.
People were essentially getting paid to spread the word about this new, convenient way to pay online.
It was a viral growth strategy before going viral was even a thing.
Exactly.
Okay, that's incredibly clever.
Right.
You incentivize the right actions.
Yeah.
You align those incentives with your brand promise.
Yeah.
And boom,
And
you've got yourself a growing user base singing your praises.
and those early adopters are golden.
Yeah.
They are the ones who are willing to try new things, provide valuable feedback, and become your most passionate advocates.
Okay.
Just look at what Glossier built.
Glossier, the beauty brand.
The beauty brand.
Everyone I know is obsessed with them.
Well,
What's their secret sauce?
They took community building to a whole new level. From the very beginning, Glossier treated their early adopters like royalty, constantly seeking their feedback, incorporating their ideas, making them feel like they were part of something bigger.
So it's more than just selling a product.
It is.
It's about creating a movement,
Yes.
a community of people who feel connected to the brand.
A sense of belonging, and that, my friend, translates to fierce loyalty and word-of-mouth marketing that money can't buy.
So we've seen how crucial those early adopters are.
We have.
But what happens when the path to success takes an unexpected turn?
Right.
We'll dig into that right after this.
Sometimes the most iconic success stories come from those willing to embrace the unexpected,
Yeah.
to pivot from their initial plans.
Because what works on paper,
Right.
or even in a small-scale test,
Right.
doesn't always translate when you're aiming for the big leagues.
Exact. Adaptability is key.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Slack.
Okay.
It's the workplace communication platform now.
Right.
But it didn't start out that way.
I remember hearing they pivoted from like a game or something.
Not quite, but close.
Okay.
They were actually developing a game, and Slack was an internal communication tool.
Okay.
They created it for their team.
Okay.
It was only when they realized its potential to transform communication in a broader context that they made the leap.
Wow. So to abandon your original product and go all in on what was essentially a side project that's ballsy.
It speaks volumes about their ability to recognize a game-changing opportunity,
Yeah.
even if it meant deviating from the original plan.
Wow.
They saw how Slack could revolutionize workplace communication, and they went for it.
And now look at them.
Right.
It's a great example of how a willingness to pivot can lead to massive success.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's not even a complete overhaul,
Right.
but a strategic shift in your business model.
Okay.
Like we saw with Zipcar.
Zipcar, the car sharing service.
Yes.
How did they pivot?
Their initial plan was to own their entire fleet of vehicles.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine
That sounds expensive.
the logistical nightmare, the overhead costs?
Yeah.
But here's where that validation phase we talked about earlier really pays off.
Right.
During that process, Zipcar realized that partnering with existing car rental companies was a much smarter move.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So instead of reinventing the wheel or, well, the fleet,
Right.
they leveraged existing resources.
Precisely by partnering, they not only simplified their operations
Yeah.
and significantly reduced their upfront capital requirements, but they were also able to scale much faster.
Wow.
Sometimes the path to growth involves recognizing that you don't have to do everything yourself.
That's a great point. Flexibility can uncover those shortcuts and even unlock potential you didn't realize was there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Speaking of resources, let's talk about smart allocation.
Okay.
When you're scaling, every dollar counts.
Because you got to spend money to make money.
You do.
But it's about spending it wisely, right?
Exactly. It's about maximizing your resources, and sometimes that requires some out-of-the-box thinking.
Okay.
Take Buffer, for instance. They've become known for their radical transparency.
Buffer, the social media scheduling tool.
Yes.
What do you mean by radical transparency?
They share their financials publicly.
What?
Salaries, revenue, you name it. They lay it all out there for the world to see.
That sounds risky.
It does.
Isn't that information that most companies keep very tightly under wraps?
They do.
What's the advantage of being so open?
Well, that transparency achieved a couple of really important things.
Okay.
Firstly, it built an incredible amount of trust with their customer base.
Right.
Imagine being a customer and seeing exactly how the company you're supporting uses your money.
Yeah, it definitely builds a different kind of relationship with the brand.
Exactly. And secondly, it actually helped them attract top-tier talent.
Interesting, because you would think that top performers would only want to go to the highest bidder.
Right, you'd think so.
Yeah.
But Buffer discovered that a lot of talented individuals, especially in the tech world, value transparency and ethical practices just as much as a big paycheck.
It's like they were able to tap into a whole new talent pool just by appealing to people's values.
Precisely, they differentiated themselves
Yeah.
and attracted the right people without necessarily engaging in a bidding war for talent.
Wow. Talk about thinking outside the box.
I know, it's brilliant.
They turned what's usually considered a weakness, being an early-stage startup with maybe less cash to throw around,
Right.
into a strength that's brilliant.
It is, and they're not the only ones who leveraged unconventional thinking for growth.
Okay.
Spotify's journey to becoming a global music streaming giant is another fantastic case study.
Everyone I know uses Spotify.
Right.
They're everywhere.
Huh.
What was their strategy?
Strategic partnerships were at a cornerstone of their success.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to conquer each new market single-handedly, they teamed up with local telecommunications companies.
Interesting. So instead of building everything from the ground up, they tapped into existing infrastructure.
Exactly. This strategy gave them access to pre-built networks, established billing systems, and crucially, a ready-made customer base.
Wow.
It's about recognizing that you don't have to reinvent the wheel to scale successfully.
It's amazing how those strategic partnerships can really catapult a business forward.
Yeah, it's a great reminder that collaboration can be incredibly powerful.
Right.
Sometimes the fastest way to grow is to find the right partners,
Yeah.
the ones who complement your strengths and can help you navigate those new waters.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From those initial steps of validating your idea,
Right.
building that minimum viable product,
Yes.
to cultivating a passionate community and scaling strategically,
It's a lot.
we've seen how crucial it is to be adaptable, to be
Yeah.
willing to pivot when needed, and to always be on the lookout for those unconventional paths to growth.
Absolutely. And, we've learned from the best, haven't we?
Yeah.
These companies, these success stories, they've all faced their own unique challenges, but there are some common threads woven throughout their journeys.
Absolutely. It all comes back to solving a real problem for your target audience, constantly listening to their feedback and being willing to adapt and evolve.
Right.
And sometimes it's about knowing when to bring in reinforcements to forge those strategic partnerships that can help you reach new heights.
It is.
So for anyone listening
Yes.
who's about to embark on their own scaling journey,
Their own adventure.
remember this. Your initial idea is important.
Yeah.
It's the spark that ignites the fire.
Yes, it is.
But it's your willingness to adapt, to learn to build a community, and to never stop innovating that will ultimately fuel your success.
That's so true.
It's not about having all the answers right away.
Right.
It's about being open to new possibilities, learning from both your successes and your setbacks, and always keeping that entrepreneurial spirit burning bright.
Beautifully said. And remember, while scaling is often about growth,
Yeah.
it's also about building something sustainable, something that brings value to the world.
Right.
So as you navigate your own path to success, never lose sight of your why.
That's a good point.
Why did you embark on this journey in the first place?
Yeah.
Let that passion be your compass, guiding you toward a future filled with purpose and impact.
Great advice as always. Thanks for joining me.
Always a pleasure, my friend.